So, picture this. You're looking at a dog, sound asleep, completely, utterly still. And you ask yourself, how do I actually know it's alive right now? I mean, normally, we see a dog running around, a cow chewing its cud, or someone shouting across the street and boom, we instantly recognize life. But when that dog is asleep, we usually have to look really closely to see its chest rising and falling, right? We're looking for breathing. We are looking for visible movement. But what about a plant? It doesn't breathe in a way we can just casually watch. It might not even visibly grow from one day to the next. And yet we know for a fact it's alive. So if visible movement isn't the ultimate test for life, what actually is? Well, the answer is actually hidden from the naked eye. You see, while we instinctively rely on visible macro movements, walking, running, chewing, the ultimate defining characteristic of life actually happens on a microscopic scale. We're talking about invisible micromovement. Deep inside every single living organism, molecules are just constantly in motion. They're engaging in cellular repair, breaking down food, transporting nutrients. It's nonstop. And this invisible, relentless molecular action, that is the true baseline of what makes something alive. Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this, the microscopic magic of being alive. Our goal today is to break down the core life processes that keep organisms functioning. We're going to translate the complex biology of survival into simple, completely unforgettable concepts so that you can totally master this topic for your upcoming exams. Let's dive in. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. 1. Alive versus not alive. 2. The microscopic truth. 3. 4 pillars of life. 4. Complex functions, simple analogies. And 5. Exam revision and MCQs. Section 1. Alive versus not alive. The great debate. So, as we were just saying, relying on what we can see is a pretty flawed metric. If you only look for visible growth or movement, you're missing the whole picture. Take viruses, for example. They are literally the ultimate test for life. If you ask a professional biologist, they'll tell you that viruses actually don't show any molecular movement on their own. Nope. They essentially just sit there, totally inactive, until they infect a host cell. And because they lack their own internal molecular movement, there's this massive ongoing controversy in the scientific community about whether viruses are even truly alive. It just goes to show that without that tiny microscopic movement, the whole definition of life kind of falls apart. Moving on to Section 2, the microscopic truth, cellular repair. So, what exactly are these molecules doing all day? Well, living creatures are highly organized structures, right? We have tissues, those tissues are made of cells, and those cells have even smaller components inside them. But the environment is constantly throwing chaos at us. Because of those environmental effects, this beautiful, organized structure is always at risk of breaking down over time. And if that order completely breaks down, the organism dies, plain and simple. Therefore, living creatures absolutely must actively and continuously repair and maintain their structures. And since all these structures are built out of molecules, your body has to move molecules around constantly just to patch up the daily damage. Section 3, 4 pillars of life, the survival toolkit. Now, there are 4 essential pillars to the survival toolkit. First up, nutrition. That's the process of transferring a source of energy, or, food, from the outside world to the inside of the body and actually utilizing it. Second is respiration, which is acquiring oxygen and using it to break down that food to release cellular energy. Third, we have transportation. That's all about moving those useful and non-useful substances from one part of the organism to another. And fourth is excretion, the absolutely vital process of removing the harmful waste products that get generated during all these chemical reactions. Without any one of these 4 pillars, the whole system just collapses. But how these pillars actually function, that depends entirely on the organism itself. Think about it. If you're a simple single-celled organism like an amoeba, your entire surface is in direct contact with the environment. You don't need complex organs. A simple process like diffusion can just pull in oxygen and push out waste. One cell literally does it all. But for ultra-complex, multicellular organisms like us humans, our deep internal cells aren't touching the outside world at all. Simple diffusion just isn't going to cut it. We require highly specialized, intricate organ systems just to carry out those 4 basic pillars. Which brings us to Section 4. Complex functions, simple analogies. Okay, let's look at the human digestive system, which is a massive part of nutrition, and break it down using some fun, memorable analogies that will absolutely save you on exam day. Picture your J-shaped stomach as a house occupied by 3 brothers. These are the components of your gastric juices. First up, you have Big Brother HCl, or hydrochloric acid. His job? To make the environment highly acidic, defeating any evil germs on the food you just ate. Then there's Middle Brother, mucus. He forms a soft protective inner lining so that Big Brother HCl's intense acid doesn't literally burn the stomach walls. And finally, you have Little Brother pepsin. His job is crucial. He digests proteins. But here is the catch. He can only do his job if the environment is acidic, so he relies entirely on Big Bro HCl to set the stage. They are just the ultimate biological team. After leaving the stomach, the food travels down to the small intestine, which, by the way, is a massive 7 meters long. But right at the entrance, the food is met by the two goons of the digestive tract. The first goon is the liver. It steps up and releases bile juice, which does two things. It turns that acidic food alkaline, and it emulsifies chunky, complex fats, breaking them down into cute, tiny, manageable droplets. Not wanting to be outdone, the second goon, the pancreas, steps in and releases 3 powerful enzymes: trypsin to tackle the remaining proteins, lipase to finish off the fats, and amylase to break down the carbohydrates. It is an incredibly coordinated chemical breakdown.
Section 5. Exam Revision and MCQs.
All right, we have covered a lot of ground today, from the invisible microscopic truth of life all the way to the bustling characters inside your digestive system. Now, let's lock all that in with a quick quiz. Question 1. Which of the following is considered a core life process? Take a second to think back to that 4-pillar table we looked at earlier. Here are your options. A. Respiration. B. Nutrition. C. Excretion. Or D. All of these. If you're shouting D at the screen right now, you are absolutely right. These are 3 of the 4 massive pillars we discussed, right alongside transportation, that maintain the highly ordered structures of living things. Okay, let's tackle another classic exam question. Both the amoeba and the paramecium are single-celled organisms that perform what's called holozoic nutrition, which basically means taking in whole food. But they have very, very different methods for actually catching that food. Do you remember how they differ? So the crucial point here, the key thing you need for the exam, is their movement. The amoeba, which has no fixed shape at all, uses pseudopodia. These are flexible, false, finger-like extensions that literally stretch out and surround its food. On the other hand, the paramecium has this beautifully fixed, almost slipper-like shape, and it uses cilia. Cilia are these tiny, sweeping, hair-like structures all over its body that essentially just brush the food right into its mouth area. We've seen today that life isn't defined by the big things we do, like jumping or running or shouting. It is defined by the relentless, microscopic hustle happening inside ourselves every single second of the day. So I'll leave you with this somewhat provocative thought. If just one of these tiny, invisible life processes, let's say cellular respiration or maybe transportation, decided to just stop working right this second, how long do you think the macroscopic, visible you would survive? It truly makes you marvel at the fragile, beautiful magic of human biology. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.